do more with less is the conversation for today, data-driven optimization for Marketo. So just very quick introduction from me. My name is Paddy. I'm a certified expert within the solution and work with a number of clients that you'll see on the slide just coming up. Of course, I'm one of quite a large team here at JDF, so I'll hopefully try to answer any questions that you have on this call, but if I can't, we've got, as I say, a number of team members with a range of specialties that will be able to answer your questions. So if I need to take it offline, I certainly can. Okay, so as I mentioned, just quickly to cover a little bit more about JDF. So JDF Marketo has actually been around for about 8 years now. And our key point of difference that you'll see is that we are a consultancy business focused purely on Marketo Engage. So hopefully have a really good knowledge of the solution, but also get to see a real wide range of best practice across all industries. You can see a couple of the logos on there, really span everything from financial services to education, technology, and everything in between. We work across a range of use cases. So BAU support, that's your day-to-day, marketing teams need an extra pair of hands. All the way through to technical implementations, training, you'll have seen a lot on our website, strategy, and much more. So we like to think that we can help you with almost anything Marketo Engage. So if you want to get in touch, I'll briefly touch on it at the end, how to do so, and hopefully we can work together on any solution that you need support with. So what we're going to cover today, an understanding of what is working in your instance and what is not. As someone that has worked in marketing teams across my career, I know very well how hard it is to stop that hamster wheel that we're all on and to take a holistic view of your marketing efforts and really understand which of your campaigns are performing as well as we would like them to. And how can we use the tools within Marketo to surface that information? I think, sometimes Marketo tools get a little bit of a bad rap. Actually, there's a lot in there and there's a lot that we can utilize. And then importantly, how do we understand and digest what it is telling us, and how do we implement actions off the back of that? And how do we avoid that classic paralysis by analysis? There's so much information there that we don't actually take any steps or actions off the back of it. How can we replicate success? So there's often no need really to reinvent the wheel. If something's working, can we package that up? Can we bottle it, and can we repurpose it in either the same way or in a slightly different way? Or how can we apply concepts from those high performing campaigns to potentially the lesser well performing campaigns? Are you leaving any data on the table? So there's an interesting piece of data within Marketo that we'll touch on slightly later in the slides, that I feel is really pivotal and is really crucial for effective reporting. And I would say 50 to 60% of instances are underutilizing it. And it's an out-the-box solution that Marketo offers. I'm not going to give it away. So hang on and we'll go through it. I'll speak about using Marketo data to optimize campaigns and inform future decision-making within your teams, and also how to share that. There's some fantastic information within Marketo that I think stays within Marketo. There'll be some information that we talk through here that you think I'm gonna chalk that up as something I want to share, both with my team and throughout maybe your companies as a whole. Okay, so what's already working? I want to touch on a couple, as I mentioned previously, of those out-the-box reports that Marketo offers, and there's a few that I'm gonna kind of pull out and focus on that I think particularly of interest. So as I mentioned before, Marketo reporting can sometimes get a bit of a bad reputation. People often decide to pull data out of Marketo, throw it into a BI solution, which, don't get me wrong, can deliver fantastic results, but Marketo actually has some really good reports within the solution if you know where to look and how to use them and in what particular use cases they should be implemented. There'll inevitably be some reports in there with limitations, so we'll touch on that as we go. But I've pulled out 3 and we'll talk through them. The first one that you can potentially see, actually I'll jump over to a use case and we'll talk through them. But the first one is an email performance report, which, as I say, we might touch on. It's quite a data heavy report. So when you first open it up, you'll think, there's no a pretty graphical interface. There's no bells or whistles. It's straight to the point, but in being so, it's digestible and it's accessible. If you want to see how your email campaigns are performing across a good range of metrics, including things like open rates, unsubscribe rates, bounce rates, this is the report for you. So as I say, take a look, and we might get a chance to take a look if we've got time later on. Landing page performance report. So very similar story, really. It's kind of very much the other side of the coin. So rather than email, this one's focusing on a landing page, as the name suggests. And it'll really give you a snapshot of the conversions that you're generating through your landing page, which is really useful. So if you've got a form on your landing page, is the form placed correctly? Are you asking the right things? Are people completing it? And fundamentally, often within programs where you're pushing people to a landing page and therefore a form, that is in itself the success of that program. So really interesting statistic to have at hand. And then performance insights, which is actually the one on the screen there. So performance insights is actually, again, it's something that I don't see used a huge amount because it can be a little complex. It's a bit of one of those things where once you know how to use it, it's actually not, but it looks a little bit tricky from the outset. We do have webinars and resources about channels and tags that we'll link to, and you can get through the resources section of our website that you should take a look at, because this report really does hinge on those channels and tags. And you can see from the snapshot on the screen there, what it does is it actually shows success by channel. So that's a really great way of really getting the best bang for your buck from your marketing spend. So you can look at that report and quite easily say, you know, webinars are really powerful for us, so we're going to do more of that. You know, events are really powerful, emails are really powerful. So going back to the idea of this webinar, what works and how can we replicate it? This report here potentially gives you a really good snapshot of that what works. Revenue models. So we can't talk data without talking revenue models. It's for me really crucial part of Marketo Engage. I feel like I talk about them all day. So the goal of a revenue model really is to progress leads through their journey with the business. So if you've seen a revenue model, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it looks very much like a customer flow chart. So you're moving a customer all the way along from left to right as you would look at it. Left might be an unknown anonymous customer. You might move them through to a known status. Maybe it's an MQL, maybe it's SALs, all those classic acronyms. But essentially, you want to push them through all of these different stages and get them to the end of the journey. And the end of the journey would, in an ideal world, be a one opportunity. So you can have as many stages as you want in the middle of that. And fundamentally, as I say, those campaigns and those programs that we create are all designed to move people through those stages. Now, for using a revenue model, ideally, you should be using the Success Path Analyzer. You can see a screenshot of the report on the right there. It really does offer a brilliant view of how your customers are progressing along those revenue stages and along the success path. So there's almost two kind of key terms to understand there. A success path is, as you can imagine, the successful path, all positive actions. We do have what we call detour stages, where you may become lapsed, you may be disqualified. This very much tracks the successful path, this report. And you can see there metrics such as conversion rate. So that's conversion rate from one stage to another, and the average time that they spend in each stage. And you can already see how powerful that information could be. So how quickly and how effectively are we moving customers through these stages? Really useful piece of information to report upon. And these crucially allow you to constantly iterate, making those small changes to your campaigns and programs, and then understand how they're influencing these progressions. So if I make this tweak over here, do more people move from stage X to stage Y, etc. It's important to note that the report is a paid solution within Marketo, but don't worry too much if you don't have it. So you can actually create something very similar using smart lists. That we could certainly help you with, but it would help you understand the movement of customers through those stages of your revenue model. So it's certainly something that can be done, not as visually appealing, but possible. So I'll just jump into a very quick demo at this point, and I'll actually show you that success path analyzer in our live instance. And it's just a really good way of seeing it in action, a little bit better, I suppose, than a screenshot would. So I've got this showing me for the last 6 months, and you can see here our revenue stages of this particular revenue cycle model. So we've got a new customer, we've got MQLs, SALs, appointments and proposals, all the way through to closed opportunities there. And you can see a couple of metrics here on the left. So you can see balance. So balance is the number of customers currently sat in that stage. So we've got 56,000 customers sat there at the minute in this new stage. Inflow, the number of customers that came into the flow, as you can imagine. Outflow, just the opposite. How many people have left this particular stage? And then the conversion rate. So this conversion rate and the average time, for me, the really, really interesting bits. So we can start seeing that we're converting 26% of the customers that enter the new stage into the MQL stage. And it's worth noting, you can view some of these graphs slightly differently. So you may wish to kind of pull back from that view, that perspective, and just see it at a slightly different level, which will show you a real kind of positive trend there, which is sometimes harder to see at such a granular level here. Then if we jump down, you can see here, straight away, there's some numbers that are screaming at us. So we've got 60% conversion, 54% conversion, brilliant numbers down here. But up here, we've got 0%. So it's not actually zero, it's just under 1%. It just shows as zero. So, but it's still not up to the standard that we want to achieve. So straight away, just from a snapshot, we can see here's our focus. We want to focus on this MQL stage, and we want to understand what levers can we pull to move people more effectively from that stage through to the SAL stage. And then SAL may also be in that list, because those two stages are really screaming at us in comparison to some of these other ones. So it's just a great tool to have. And as I mentioned, as you can with all Marketo reports, you can change that time span there. And you can start testing and learning and understanding, when we make a change, how is it impacting this success journey. So replicating success. Hopefully we've highlighted what is working and what is not working, and our areas of concern and where we want to focus. Like I said, in that scenario there, we know for sure there's a couple of revenue stages and therefore kind of audience segments that we want to focus on. The first thing to do for me is to take what is working and bottle it up. How can we do more of those things that are working? So if we look at some of those other stages that were really effective, why are they effective? Can we dig further into them? And can we understand what components are actually causing that positivity? Is it asset based? Is it audience based? Is it campaign based? Is it something that, is it quite a holistic change, or is it a very small change within an asset that can be done within a matter of seconds? So understanding what is causing that positivity is really important here. So templates and tokens are absolutely the best way to replicate success. We actually had a webinar not too long ago on the topic, so I'd urge you to go and have a quick look in the resources section of our website and familiarize yourself with those. But to quickly summarize templates and tokens, we can template things in Marketo like programs, emails, landing pages. You'll have seen a lot of those things already templated. Programs is a really important one for me, and it means that they can be quickly and easily cloned and repurposed. And the important bit is that when you gather best practice, you can revisit these programs and update them, and that is crucial. So if you do all this work, you understand what's working and what's not working, and then you don't update your program templates, we're just going to be replicating that unsuccessful program. So jumping back to those program templates, keeping them updated with best practice, Maybe it's an email template, update that with best practice. Button should be this color, button should say this. You know, it can be the smallest things, but update best practice, and make sure that that cascade happens as it should when the next person picks up a piece of work within Marketo, following the same processes. Tokens work in a very similar way. So they allow you to update them once and apply across a range of assets. Very similar logic. Keep those tokens working for you. Don't let them get out of date. And then the second action is to work with campaigns that are not currently working and implement the best practice from the campaigns that are working really well and bring them up to that same standard. That could be around things like implementing high performance creatives that we spoke about there, updating segmentation logic, you know, which brings us on quite nicely actually to this slide here, which is testing. A/B testing, also known as split testing. You might have seen it termed that as well. And this gives us the ability to test differing versions of assets or campaigns and really understand which performs better. And A/B testing is a good way of explaining it. I tend to lean towards there being two options. There is potential for more, but I would urge you, try not to cloud things. You want to know what works better, this or this. If you put 7 different options in, you give yourself, you know, too many cooks spoil the broth. It's the classic analogy. And this can be simple tests. It can be things like subject line, send times, send dates, all of those things that you can kind of imagine, and then you can use native functionality within Marketo to assign a winner through a specific criteria that you can set up within the solution. And then that becomes, as we mentioned before, your best practice. And you very much have a standard that remains the standard. If it gets beaten, replace that. You've now got a new standard. If it doesn't get beaten, keep the old standard. And it's just a case of constant iteration within all your campaigns. I would very much say never leave a campaign. We have this tendency in marketing automation world to set and leave. I would say never leave. Set and revisit regularly as you possibly can, because things change, best practices change, and behaviors change. You can actually run testing within flow steps of campaigns, which can get really interesting. It's a little bit more complex. This doesn't give you the native A/B testing report that you get from a simple A/B test, say within an email program. But it does allow you to run, as I say, those slightly more complex tests. So that might be something like a variation in journey. So you might, rather than just testing the subject line of an email, you may say, what if I spin some customers off onto this slightly different path where they get a different sequence of events versus this path over here? And you can do that within flow steps and randomized flow steps. So that's really interesting. That's worth a look. And it's worth noting the top tip in red. I've kind of briefly touched on it there, but test one thing at a time. I was saying very much try and limit the scope of your test, but also limit the actual test itself. So if you test 5 things, how are you going to know which one of them worked? You need to test one thing at a time. And it's really difficult to do as a marketeer because we naturally move very, very quickly, and we often move quicker than the other functions within a business. And it means that we have the ability to test and learn rapidly. Try and just limit yourself as you do that. Learn one thing, apply best practice, move on to the next. So this bit of data that you might be leaving on the table, you might have guessed it, period costs. So you may well be using them already, in which case you'll be screaming shut up at the screen, but it's worth just revisiting them, I would say, regularly, and make sure you're using them as effectively as you can. And for those that aren't using them, if you're not, you really could be missing a trick. So as marketeers, everything revolves around return on investment. You know, if you're trying to sell something into the business, how much money is this going to generate us? We're going to spend X. I want to know what we're going to make. This is often the key to justifying any decisions that we're making as a marketing function. and crucially gets that marketing spend and gets us that budget that we all need. We often hear that we don't have any costs. So when I'm working with many businesses, they'll say, actually, it doesn't cost us anything to do that because we use an out-the-box solution. We've got designers in-house. Doesn't cost us anything. Actually, it does still cost you something as a business. Remember that time is money. And even if you're using a nominal value, maybe you use an agency rate. So if you've got in-house designers, how much would that have costed you if you used an external agency? Put that figure in. It's costing the marketing team time, to physically have those conversations with the design team and then maybe approve the assets in Marketo. Put that figure down. Without that figure, you'll really struggle to understand that return on investment. And you'll also notice, if we touch back on that performance insights report that we mentioned earlier, that becomes even more powerful when you have that period cost figure, because that is based around ROI. So you'll start seeing in there, how much did it cost per acquisition, per new name that this program generated? How much did that cost me? And then how much did the program cost to run? You're starting to generate a bit of an ROI there. And finally, ROI over time, which I think is really powerful. So as I mentioned before, set and leave is a bit of a mantra in automation. But because that sometimes works, you improve your ROI over time. So it might have cost you X in January, but by December, for all intensive purposes, that cost is being well outweighed by the amount of money that work that you did in January is now generating you. So track it, because that's a fantastic success that you can use as teams to try and influence budget and spending within your business. So it's worth noting that we've got this resource on our website. So it's worth having to jump over, and we'll share these slides. So you'll be able to find this resource easy enough. So this is called our Reporting Success Success Handbook, and it's a free download. So it's worth downloading just for a bit of light reading, if nothing else. And in there, it'll really help you understand those out-the-box reports in Marketo. There's more than what I've touched on. So I mentioned 3 that were my kind of top picks, but there's a lot more. So it's worth grabbing this report and just skimming over them. And you may well see some reports in there you think, actually, I kind of forgot about that, and I've got a use case for it. So let's give it a go. And we do offer Marketo Engage audits, free Marketo Engage audits crucially. And we can really tailor these reports. So if it's something that you're interested in, head over to our website and you'll find it easy enough on there. But it's a great way of really understanding if you're maximizing the potential of your Marketo instance. What are you using? What are you not using? And that can really start steering this conversation towards things that we've spoke about here. So that might be revenue models. It might be reporting solutions. And I'll not dwell on this. I'll jump through it quickly, don't worry. But just to cut to the chase, as I mentioned before, if it has sparked any ideas, this webinar, just give us a shout, whether you be reaching out to me through our website, whatever it is, I'm more than happy to support. So just get in touch. And I just wanted to very quickly touch on this slide here. So Adbridge, I don't know how many of you will be using Adbridge. It's not commonly used, if I'm honest, across a whole range of clients that we work with, but it is a really useful tool. So in case you're not aware, Adbridge is a connector that allows you to sync Marketo audiences into your paid social channels. And PPC channels, so any paid channels really. So that's Google, Meta, LinkedIn. So when we're thinking about using Marketo data to optimize your campaigns, don't limit yourself just to Marketo campaigns. So you could use that data that you've collected within Marketo to optimize your paid campaigns, and vice versa. What data can we share amongst these channels, and best practice can we share amongst these channels, and create best practice channel specific. It doesn't have to be across the board. You can house a lot of information within Marketo, and that data can tell us a lot of information. So use it wherever you can, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.